A year ago, I moved to a new city to start studying in university. And because of that, I started to suffer from excessive comparisons because I was no longer in a quiet village, but in a big city where there are many people, many of whom are much further than me in life. But now I'm basically immune to comparisons. And so in this video, I will share a year's worth of progress. I will share the tips that have helped me to stop suffering from comparisons. And let me tell you something. It is impossible to stop comparing yourself, but you can reduce it by around 95% to the point where you see people who are more successful than yourself, and it kind of no longer affects you. And so the first and most important tip that I can give you is to stop using social media. You know, this is kind of a stereotypical point, the one which you would expect. But it's true, you have to revert to the basics. If you are constantly scrolling, constantly seeing images, constantly consuming narratives, you are almost certainly going to compare yourself too much. Because people just aren't designed to live that way. And people aren't designed to live in pictures. You know? People are living, people aren't pictures, but social media makes you think that people are pictures. This is all obvious, I know, but it's just important to repeat that. And so just cut out social media and your problems will already be 80% gone. And I can also tell you, a lot of people say ignorance is bliss, but this is actually not true because it assumes that non-ignorance is the default and the preferable state. But actually, what's wrong in the modern world is that we practice non-ignorance too much, meaning too many things try to get in our minds, and we no longer possess the capability to filter things that we do not need. And so by deleting social media, you get to restore your inner balance because then you can go back to how people are meant to live, to healthy levels of comparisons, to healthier levels of comparison. And so stop using social media and most of your problems will be gone. The second tip is the following. Talk to the people who you think are better than you. Over the past year, I've done that a lot. As a result, I've lost many insecurities of mine. For instance, I used to think that I am skinny, even though I had been training for 3 years. Now I no longer feel insecure about being skinny because I have learned that people who are not skinny, who are very big, are actually very nice. And so there's no really a point to worry about it. You see, most of the time, you construct narratives in your head and then you try to perceive the world through it. But when you then talk to these people that you think are superior, you are back in the present moment and your narratives that you had in your mind collapse, meaning you live more peacefully and more naturally. Next to talking to people, there's another tip that I can give you. Tip number 3 is to expand your time horizon. You see, let's go back to the example of being skinny. I could, of course, be insecure about being skinny, despite having trained for 3 years. But I could also reframe it. You see, even if it took me 10 years to figure out how to train, I would still be 25 by then, so it's not really a problem. And also, training from 25 to 85 is monumentally more important than training from 16 to 18 and then see enormous progress. I would much rather spend a lot of time figuring things out than not spend a lot of time figuring things out and make quick progress. Because life isn't 3 years long, it's usually 80. And so expanding your time horizon and realizing that your starting position and your perspective is slightly different than everyone else, or maybe even significantly different, will help. But the thing is, this is kind of abstract. And so let's get to the fourth tip, which is very concrete. It's to have something to do. Most of these narratives that you build in your mind stem from not having enough meaningful things to do. That's when your mind starts searching for problems, and that's when you get those artificial ones, like comparing yourself to the people around you. And so how do you stop that? Well, you get something to do. So that this doesn't have to be something related to the thing that you're insecure about. It's just general occupational therapy. So, for instance, if you are insecure about being skinny, you should train. Usually those insecurities only appear after you have not been training for a month and got sick and stuff like that, When you can't train, you are more likely to be insecure about your size than when you are about to hit a personal record, right? This is why it's important to have something to do. Having something important to do can also mean that you don't sit at home, but instead go to the opera and enjoy a few hours of music there. This is what I'm going to do tomorrow, by the way. So this is kind of a relevant example. I could, of course, just sit at home and be bored, or I could do something fun, or I could do something productive. Doing something fun or productive, or just doing absolutely nothing, is better than sitting around procrastinating and not knowing what you should do. This is, however, don't get me wrong, you should still experience a lot of boredom, but experiencing boredom and living an uninspiring life are distinct, because, well, this difference would go too far, but essentially you have to choose boredom, but living an uninspiring life is just the result of bad mental health. But so have something to do, do something fun, do some fun maxing, or do some purpose maxing. In either case, you are better off than doing procrastination maxing, so to speak. And so this brings us to the fifth tip, which is to track your progress. Even if your progress is very small, you should still track it. This is, by the way, my journal. I'm going to hold it far away because I don't really want to share it. You can see it's kind of full because I share the very simple things that I had done that day that went well. When you do things well and document it, even if it's just about bringing out the trash, even if it's something as insignificant as that, you should still document it, because that will bring back to the present moment and not make you stuck in your narratives. And it will also help you to see improvement. Tracking your progress is also one of those habits that will actually help you to get out of a rut, because you will see upward momentum. And so tracking your progress is a very valuable habit. And every time I stopped doing that, after a month's time, my life got significantly worse. And so after 4 months of not tracking my progress, I have resumed doing so about a few days ago. And my life has been better in these few days than in the time before that. So tracking your progress, very valuable, 10 out of 10 habit. Now the sixth tip, I don't know if it's 6 or 5. The sixth tip is to change your surroundings. I put it in tip number 6 and not earlier, because changing your surroundings can be incredibly valuable. However, if you're in school or university, it's hard to change your environment. If you live with your parents and spend your school days with the same 20 people, good luck changing your environment. It's just not really possible. In university, it is a lot easier to change your environment, but still, changing your environment is relevant, because maybe it's not the comparisons that are driving you crazy. Maybe it's just the people who who you are comparing yourself to. Maybe you just don't like the people who you compare yourself to, and these people are further in life than you, and so you think that you are inferior, even though it's just the case that you don't like them, and thus it kind of gets amplified. So be aware of that. Maybe you just don't like the people, and it has nothing to do with superiority or inferiority. And this, you can find this out if you change your surroundings. Changing your surroundings has many interpretations. You can change the friends you have, you can change where you live, you can change what hobbies you have. The list is endless. Some will definitely be more significant and massive than others, but some will also be quite easy and you can do them, and they stack. The final tip that I can give you is not actually a tip, it's just a reminder to meditate and to practice gratitude. There is no better habit than meditation and gratitude journaling to bring you back in the present moment. And even though many people say that they are not valuable, what I've noticed is that if you don't do them, a lot of bad habits keep coming back to your life. They sneak in from all sides. And you won't notice it at first, but your life will get step by step worse and worse. And so, to return to the present moment, you can meditate and practice gratitude. So let me repeat the tips that I presented. So stop using social media. Talk to people who you think are superior to you. Extend your perspective. Have something to do. And by the way, not only extend your perspective, but also realize who you compare yourself to. Like if you're not a bodybuilder, obviously don't compare yourself to bodybuilders. Then have something to do. Track your progress, even if it is very little. Change your surroundings and meditate and do gratitude journaling. And so, my name is Kirill. My goal is to inspire 10,000 good decisions. And so I often talk about strategy, personal development, self-improvement, career, and a bit about philosophy as well. And my goal is to inspire 10,000 good decisions. If this video helped you, subscribe. If it didn't, then unsubscribe and leave 50 hate comments and then press do not recommend channel. I hope that's a fair deal. Do whatever you want. But if it helped you, subscribe and maybe comment your story, and we'll see you in the next one.